Members, it's already the appointed time and we formed a quorum. May I call the meeting to order? Please invite the administration to join us now. Let us welcome representatives from the administration. For the name list, please refer to the seating plan tabled. Regarding the meeting dated the 29th of June 2015, the Bills Committee continued to examine the bill clause by clause. Members raised a number of concerns and comments. At the meeting, please refer to paper CP 21848/1415(1). And the administration has prepared a written reply for us. The Chinese text has been tabled. And the paper number is CB 21848/1415(02). I'll first give the floor to Mr. Franco Kwok, Assistant Director of Home Affairs, to walk us through the written reply. Over to you, Mr. Kwok.
Thank you, Chairman. And good afternoon, members. At the meeting dated the 29th of June, members asked a number of questions and were prepared a written reply to the Secretariat. I'll highlight the paper to you. First, Clause 23.9 of Schedule 3. As mentioned at the last meeting, Clause 46.9 of the bill requires members of a committee to disclose interest. However, for the avoidance of doubt, we've accepted members' proposal to amend Section 23.9 of Schedule 3 to state that the committee should regulate its own procedures subject to the regulations of Section or Clause 46.9. And Clause 55 is about serving a copy of the certificate to the person, and there is no specification on the manner the copy of certificate should be served. This is to ensure flexibility and cost effectiveness. For instance, if it is within a month after the expiry of the payment period, or later than a month but not later than 2 months after the expiry of the payment, the fine is double the amount or 4 times the amount respectively, and the notice may be served by means of ordinary post. However, if the fine is overdue for more than 2 months, then the notice should be served by registered post. And what we propose here is in line with the provisions in the stamp duty ordinance. And at the last meeting, members asked when stamp duty paid can be refunded. We have checked with the Inland Revenue Department. And according to the department, for a surveillance on sale under stamp duty ordinance, Section 45, if it is in the case of conveyance from one associated body corporate to another, and if the application for relief is only submitted after payment is made, then the stamp duty paid can be refunded. So in this case, the levy already paid under this ordinance can also be refunded. Members, any follow-up questions, please? Mr. Wong Kwok Hing. Chairman, I welcome the administration's reply. In particular, I'm pleased with paragraph 2 of the paper to require members of a committee under the authority to disclose interest. I welcome this. And I thank the administration for adopting our views. However, the Chinese text here is, well, I want the administration to proofread more properly. For instance, a committee under the authority in Chinese is Kud Ha. In fact, it should be Hat Ha. The two Chinese characters are very alike. There should be better proofreading. And I think it is better to say 披露利益關係 rather than 利害關係, disclosure of interest. So please double check the Chinese text. Yes, I notice that in section 46, the Chinese text is 披露利害關係, meaning disclosure of interest. So, like to know whether the usual rendition for interest is 利害 or 利益. Thank you very much, Mr. Wong Ko-heng, for your reminder. In fact, we noted that typo, but it was only after the paper was sent to the Secretariat. As regards the Chinese term 披露利害關係 for disclosure of interest, well, is used in the bill as well, and therefore we have decided to use the same phrase in our reply. Thank you. Any further questions? Ms. Claudia Mo. My understanding is that interest is usually rendered into 利益 in law. For instance, public interest is rendered into 公眾利益. Now you talk about 利害關係 as still conflict of interest. How come there is no consistency here? It looks awkward. Well, it's just a minor matter. We understand what it is about, but for the usual rendition is 利益. Instead of 利害, perhaps you should go for 利益. Law draftsman. Why do we say 利害 instead of 利益? Because 利益 would narrow down the scope of the meaning. 利益 would mean privileges, benefits, for instance. But under 46, the things to be disclosed may not necessarily be benefits or favors or privileges to the member concerned. So we've gone for 利害 to cover possible conflicts. And this is a usual term in our Chinese laws. So to ensure consistency, I believe we should use disclosure, use a 利害 for interest. And what about the Chinese text? What is it? And what is the Chinese text for 利害關係? Mr. Kwok, 46. The original term is disclosure of interests. All right, now, I get your point. All right, I get your point. Any follow-up, Mr. Pawsey? Now, you're saying that it covers more than benefits or favors. If there is possible conflict of interest, then I can understand why. But if we look at section 46(1), disclosable interest means if we look at A and B, I think they are more about interest or benefits or favor. I do not see any conflict of interest here. There is nothing in your definition. If you want to add include the concept of a conflict of interest, well, since the term is so narrowly defined here, you may as well use the Chinese rendition, 利益, to mean benefits and favors. Mr. Kwok. Law draftsman. Mr. Lam. Yes, well, even for advantages, we sometimes render it into 利益. Now here we are not just talking about disclosing favors or benefits to the persons concerned, but the conflict of interest. So I believe it will be more appropriate to use 利害. Yes, I agree, but then for clause 46, 1A and B, I think these two are about favors, interests, and benefits in general. There is no implication of previous dealings or one covering for the other, so on and so forth. Because in your definition, you have not added the other side, conflict. But if we just use 利益, then we would then narrow down the scope. It is not reflecting what we want. No, I'm saying that if, as a matter of policy, you should include conflicts of interest, then you should add C after A and B. Maybe there was a past conflict, and in terms of the capacity, or so on and so forth, there was conflict of interest. Mr. Lam, please think twice, okay? But the drafting of Section 46 is rather common, or is consistent with other pieces of legislation, just for instance, the Communications Authority Ordinance and the Competition Ordinance. And they also have 1A and B there. I may invite the law draftsman to consider whether any amendment is needed. And in the other two pieces of legislation, is 利害 or 利益 used? The term is 利害 instead of 利益. A is clear enough, but B may involve conflict. Because A is about pecuniary interest involving money. Mr. Lam, please think about this. Since you've heard members' views, maybe the definition here is not clear enough, so please revisit this point. Any other comments? Mr. Kwok Wai-Keung. Thank you, Chairman. I haven't been involved in too many bills, but here it says a personal interest greater than that which a person has as a member of the public. Can you give us an example? What do you mean by greater than that which a person has as a member of the public? And bearing in mind that it has nothing to do with money. Mr. Kwok. Law draftsman, can you give us a concrete example, please? Mr. Lam. Do you have any available? Well, I cannot think of any offhand. The reason I will ask this question is members of the authority or committee may wear different hats. They might be advisors or non-executive member of a particular body. They may be just say honorary chairman of a particular body. Do they have to declare interest? If not, will they be caught by this clause? And that's the reason why I asked this question. Mr. Lam, as I said, this clause on disclosure of interests is common in other pieces of legislation. After the meeting, we can discuss with colleagues of DOJ to ask for more information for members' reference, because this is not the first time we have such a clause here. All right. Any other questions? If not,
Can we continue with clause-by-clause scrutiny of the bill? We completed all the main provisions and schedules 1 through 4. What's left today is Schedule 5. That is page C2868 of the blue bill. Mr. Kwok, please. Or rather, Mr. Wong, please walk us through the schedule. Thank you. Schedule 5 is on related amendments. Part 1, Amendment to Prevention of Bribery Ordinance, Cap 201. Schedule 1, amended, Public Bodies. In Schedule 1 to add Property Management Services Agent Authority, including any committees established under the Property Management Services Ordinance. Any question?
如果冇，請繼續。黃生。
Okay. Moving on to Part 2, Amendment to the Ombudsman Ordinance Cap 397. Schedule 1 amended, organizations to which this ordinance applies. So Schedule 1, Part 1, add in alphabetical order to add in Property Management Services Authority. Questions from members? Now, Schedule 5 has amendments on Cap 201 of the Prevention of Bribery Ordinance and 397 of the Ombudsman Ordinance. Now, regarding these ordinances, members can refer to paper CB 2761, which I believe members already have a copy. Now, if members have no further questions regarding Schedule 5, the clause-by-clause scrutiny of the bill is really over. Now, we had a few follow-up items a while ago, and I hope that the administration can go back and give us something in writing as a reply. And earlier on in our very many earlier meetings, we vetted this bill, and the administration has indicated that they will consider members' requests and comments and to make amendments accordingly. Now, I hope that the government will provide responses in writing to us so that at our next meeting we can discuss the government's responses, and maybe at our next sitting, or even today, if you want to have amendments, then you can suggest responses or other necessary follow-up actions. Mr. Wong, you have a question. Thank you, Chair. Now, we have basically finished our scrutiny of the Blue Bill, and as you pointed out, in our earlier discussions, we have raised many viewpoints, and I noticed that the government's responses include those that they would go back and think about it and make changes accordingly, or will provide guidelines to resolve the questions. So can the government provide some sort of an overall picture for us so that at a glance we can tell which will be handled by way of supplementary legislation or through other means. So just to make things easier for members. So this is my suggestion. A second point has to do with the period of time while we are visiting or looking at the PMS bill. I have exchanged views with the trade, especially, for example, with the logistics members association. They are very concerned about the licensing procedure and whether the incumbents would be affected. And in their meetings with the administration would have heard their views, and these have to be followed up. Well, not in this particular chamber, but in other venues. So I hope that while the government is doing all this summary work, the government will let us know what are the views that they have accepted and what are the views that they still have reservations about. So can I ask the government to give us an overall response? Yes, I think Mr. Wong's suggestion is a good one. So Mr. Kwok, would you agree to that? That will also help our secretariat, because we have done a lot of discussion in the past and made suggestions for amendments. So can you help our secretariat so that the work can be made easier? So yes, thank you, Mr. Wong, for your suggestion. I think that's a very good one, and we have already started our work with the secretariat, looking at all the items we discussed in past meetings, and then to list them out one by one. And so to facilitate members' work. And when the paper is ready, we'll certainly let you have it. So thank you, Chair, and thank you, the administration, for your positive response. Any other views from other members? Now, as I said, if that's the case, we have finished doing our work on the Blue Bill. Can I ask the LA to look at the English version so that at our next meeting, members can look at everything all together. Now, I would also like to say that originally we have scheduled our next meeting on the 22nd of July, a Wednesday. Now, but because we have finished scrutinizing the Blue Bill, and because we have raised a lot of views to the government, and the government has made responses, and a lot of amendments to be made. So in order to make things easier for everyone, we need more time before the next meeting. So if members agree, I would suggest moving the meeting or cancelling the meeting on the 22nd, and to replace the meeting at a more suitable date. Well, giving enough time for the government to respond to members' questions and suggestions. In other words, to give enough time for all parties. So I'm suggesting pushing back the meeting, and because we have a summer coming up, and the meeting may not be held in the very near future. But in any case, we will confirm the date and then let members know. Mr. Wong. Chair, I agree with what you just said. I would like to ask the administration. Now, we've now finished the Blue Bill, and there are certain things to follow up. Now, can I ask the government whether by the end of this year, we can proceed to third reading. Do you have a timetable, Mr. Kwok? Now, I think we all like to see the bill going through LegCo ASAP. So even in the summer, we are going to proceed full steam ahead and to finish the work as soon as possible and to give members to look at it. So we certainly want the bill to go through the third stage reading at LegCo this year. Yes, I'm very happy to hear that. I think it has a lot of benefit for the property management sector, and I hope that the government can make progress during summer so that we can finish all the necessary work as soon as possible. Yes, I think we all understand what Mr. Wong is saying. So depending on future progress of meetings, I believe we are all in agreement that the bill should be moving on to stage 2 and stage 3 as soon as possible. Now, if there are no further issues, I declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you.